12 consultants, top-tier minds, Ivy League degrees, decades of combined experience, and million-dollar fees. All summoned into a grand boardroom, seated around a gleaming mahogany table at one of the nation's most powerful tech conglomerates. And all of them, one by one, walked out defeated. It wasn't a typical problem. It wasn't just about numbers, logistics, or optimization. It was a deadlock that had cost the company millions already, an impenetrable issue that blended code failure, human error, and a system collapse that threatened to halt international operations. Each consultant gave their theory, their suggestion, their pitch. Each failed. At the head of the table sat the CEO, a man known not just for his business acumen but for the quiet strength that had carried him through personal storms few could imagine. A single father, a man who built the company from the ground up after losing his wife to cancer just 3 years earlier. He had poured everything into his daughter, and his company had become more than a legacy. It was a promise to never give up. That morning, as the final consultant closed his laptop and said, "I'm sorry, but there's no clean solution," the CEO just nodded. Calm, still, the room emptied, leaving only silence, tension, and a growing sense of doom. But in the hallway, just outside that very room, someone had been watching. Listening, sweeping the floor with quiet diligence was Jaden, a 19-year-old janitor, just 3 weeks into the job. No one had paid him any attention. Why would they? He was just the janitor. Except Jaden had a secret. He wasn't just a kid with a mop. He had been fixing things since he was 6. Machines, computers, systems, not with textbooks, but with raw intuition. He had dropped out of college to support his mom after a stroke left her paralyzed. He cleaned floors by night and built open-source software by day. And what he heard in that room? It sparked something. Heart pounding, palms sweaty, he debated internally, should he say something? What if they laughed, fired him? But something stronger pushed him forward. Maybe it was the look in the CEO's eyes, calm, yes, but with the kind of weight only another soul in pain could recognize. So Jaden did the unthinkable. He knocked on the door. The CEO looked up, surprised to see a janitor standing in the frame, clutching a broom like a security blanket. "Sir," Jaden said, voice shaking slightly, "I know I'm just me. But I think I know what's wrong with your system." There was a pause, then a nod. "Go on." Jaden walked to the digital board, pulled out his phone, and quickly sketched a basic flowchart. He spoke in simple terms, not jargon, not buzzwords. Just raw insight. He explained how the problem wasn't in the logic or the code, it was in how the system handled legacy data from pre-acquisition companies. A small misalignment in timestamp formatting between 2 merged platforms had created a looping error. No one caught it because everyone had been looking too high level. The CEO stared. In silence. Then he called in the head of IT. 10 minutes later, a test run of Jaden's suggestion showed a 97% error reduction. Within 24 hours, operations were back online. Jaden didn't ask for anything. He just smiled and returned to his cart, ready to clean the next floor. But the CEO stopped him. "You're not going anywhere," he said. The next day, Jaden was no longer listed under janitorial staff. He was promoted to junior systems analyst. 6 months later, lead developer. A year later, CTO. But the story doesn't end there. The CEO didn't just change Jaden's life. Jaden changed his. For the first time in years, the CEO smiled. Not a business smile, not a press conference smile, but a real, from the heart kind of smile. He saw, in Jaden a reflection of himself, a fighter, a believer, someone who didn't give up even when no one believed in them. They began working closely, building new innovations, launching mentorship programs for underprivileged youth. Jaden insisted on hiring other kids like him, brilliant, unseen, overlooked. The company grew, not just in profit, but in purpose. And then one night, as the CEO was walking through the now quiet halls of his company, he passed by Jaden's office and saw something that made him stop. On the wall, pinned like a beacon, was a quote. "Greatness doesn't come from titles. It comes from the courage to try." That quote became the new company slogan. Today, Jaden travels the world, not to sweep floors, but to speak to leaders, innovators, dreamers. His story is shared in schools, on podcasts, in leadership seminars. But if you ask him what changed his life, he doesn't say the CEO. He says, "It was the moment I knocked." And if you ask the CEO what restored his faith, not in business, but in humanity, he says, "It was the kid with the broom who reminded me what vision really looks like." This story isn't about hierarchy. It's not about power. It's about recognizing brilliance, wherever it hides. It's about listening when you least expect to. It's about second chances, courage, and the unseen heroes walking beside us. 12 consultants with all the answers walked away. But the young janitor, with heart, humility, and boldness, solved it in 1 minute. And in that 1 minute, 2 lives changed forever. If this story touched you, remember, never underestimate someone based on their title. Never ignore the quiet ones in the room. Sometimes, the one with the mop knows more than the one with the mic. Believe in others. Believe in yourself. And above all, knock. Because you never know which door leads to destiny.